You're standing in the middle of a bustling airport terminal, clutching your passport like it's a golden ticket to a realm of pure terror. Every sound feels like an alarm, every official looks like a secret agent, and your heart is beating faster than a bass drum in a heavy metal solo. Welcome to the terrifying, confusing, and completely unhinged experience of flying on an airplane for the absolute first time. It all begins 3 months ago when you decide to book a vacation because you saw a pretty picture of a beach on the internet. You click buy ticket without reading any of the 14 pop-up warnings about baggage restrictions, seat selection, or basic human survival. Flash forward to packing night, where you realize you have no idea how much 3 liquid ounces actually looks like. You end up putting your toothpaste, shampoo, and a half-eaten jar of peanut butter into a single sandwich bag that is currently screaming at the seams. You arrive at the airport 4 hours early because your dad warned you that traffic might be bad, only to find the terminal completely empty except for a sweeping janitor. You march up to the check-in counter with the confidence of a newborn giraffe trying to walk on ice. The agent asks if you have any dangerous goods, and you instantly forget if your socks are classified as biological weapons. You print your boarding pass, holding the physical paper like an ancient parchment that holds the secret to your very existence. Now comes the first true boss fight of the airport ecosystem, the security line. You watch the people ahead of you strip off their shoes, belts, jackets, and dignity with military precision. Panic sets in as you try to untie your double-knotted sneakers while holding 2 giant plastic bins with your elbows. You unload your laptop, your phone, your coins, and 3 stray paper clips into the bin, praying you didn't accidentally pack a cannon. You step through the metal detector like a spy walking across a laser grid, holding your breath so your lungs don't trigger an alarm. Shh. Beep. The machine screams, and the entire security line pauses to glare at you as if you just confessed to a major crime. It turns out the silver foil wrapper on your stick of gum was enough to put the entire airport on red alert. After a full pat-down from a TSA agent who now knows you better than your own doctor, you gather your scattered belongings in absolute shame. You spend 20 minutes putting your shoes back on, while sitting on a cold tile floor next to a trash can. Now you must navigate the endless maze of gate numbers that somehow loop in circles around a duty-free shop selling $300 perfume. You find gate B24, sit directly across from the desk, and check your ticket 47 times to ensure the gate hasn't magically changed. Every 5 minutes, an announcement crackles over the loudspeaker, and you instantly freeze, convinced they are calling your name to kick you out. Boarding begins, and people immediately swarm the line like zombies rushing a barricade, even though everyone literally has assigned seats. You join Group 4, walking down the jetway, that weird accordion tunnel that feels far too flimsy to hold human weight. You step onto the plane, and the sudden smell of stale air and recycled coffee hits you like a physical wall. A smiling flight attendant greets you, and you reply with a voice 3 octaves higher than your normal speaking voice. You shimmy down the aisle, bumping your oversized backpack into the shoulders of 6 innocent passengers along the way. You finally reach row 28, open the overhead bin, and stare into the dark void, praying your suitcase doesn't crush someone's fragile souvenir. You cram your bag inside using pure adrenaline, slam the door shut, and collapse into your assigned seat. It's a window seat, which seemed romantic when you booked it, but now feels like a tiny transparent trap 3,000 feet above nothing. You attempt to buckle your seatbelt and spend 2 full minutes trying to plug it in backward like a broken USB stick. The safety demonstration begins, and you watch the flight attendants with the intense focus of a student taking a final exam without studying. When they hold up the yellow oxygen mask, you make a mental oath to fight anyone who tries to take yours in an emergency. The plane begins to taxi toward the runway, vibrating with a rumble that rattles every bone in your spine. You clutch the armrest so tightly your knuckles turn completely white, leaving permanent finger indentations in the faux leather. The engines roar to life with the sound of a jet engine, which is terrifying because it is literally a jet engine. You are suddenly shoved back into your seat with 5 times the force of gravity as the plane accelerates down the tarmac. The nose lifts up, your stomach drops straight into your shoes, and you realize there is no turning back now. The ground shrinks below you. Cars look like tiny ants, and you realize you are suspended in a metal tube held up by nothing but pure air pressure and luck. Suddenly, the plane hits a tiny pocket of rough air, bouncing up and down like a shopping cart with a wobbly wheel on cobblestones. You gasped out loud, bracing for impact, while the person sitting next to you calmly continues reading a magazine about gardening. You glance over at them in disbelief, wondering how they can read about tomatoes when you are clearly about to plunge into the abyss. A tiny bell dings above you, and you jump 6 inches out of your seat, thinking the plane has just declared an ultimate emergency. It turns out the flight attendant just turned off the seatbelt sign. but you refuse to unbuckle because you don't trust physics anymore. If you're currently watching this video on free airport Wi-Fi while praying your first flight doesn't end up on the evening news, drop a comment right now. Because deep down, every single person sitting in that cabin had this exact same internal meltdown the very first time they left the ground. We all pretended to look cool while secretly holding our breath during every tiny bump and strange engine noise. Now comes the middle phase of the flight, where time slows down to a crawl and you realize your legs have completely run out of space. You try to adjust your position, but moving 3 inches to the left causes your elbow to invade your neighbor's personal bubble. You stare at the tiny screen in front of you, scrolling through 80 movies before settling on a documentary about deep-sea squids. The drink cart slowly rolls down the aisle, blocking the aisle like an immovable glacier of soda cans and tiny pretzels. When the flight attendant asks what you'd like, panic strikes again, and you ask for a tomato juice even though you have never drank tomato juice in your life. You peel open a tiny bag of salted peanuts containing precisely 6 nuts, treating each one like a rare gourmet delicacy. You attempt to use the airplane bathroom, which requires navigating a bifold door that feels like a puzzle box designed by an evil wizard. Inside, the space is so small you have to breathe in rhythm just to turn around and wash your hands. You press the flush button, and the toilet unleashes a deafening vacuum roar that sounds like it just sucked a hole in space-time. You scramble back to your seat in terror, convinced you almost opened a wormhole over Nebraska. You decide the best way to handle the anxiety is to take a peaceful nap and wake up when you're safely on the ground. You pull out your neck pillow, inflate it until it resembles a giant blue donut, and rest your head against the icy window frame. Just as your eyes start to close, the plane hits another micro bump, snapping your head sideways with the speed of a striking cobra. You give up on sleep and decide to track the flight progress on the interactive map on your seatback screen. You watch the tiny digital airplane crawl across a giant blue ocean at a speed that makes a snail look like a race car driver. According to the screen, you've been in the air for 3 hours, but in reality, only 14 minutes have actually passed. You decide to try meditation, closing your eyes and breathing deeply while focusing on positive, calming thoughts. Immediately, the toddler 3 rows behind you begins a high-pitched operatic scream that pierces directly through your soul. The pilot's voice comes over the intercom, muffled and static-filled, sounding like someone speaking through a cardboard tube underwater. You catch 3 words out of the entire speech: descent, weather, and brace, which instantly resets your adrenaline levels to maximum overload. The plane begins to tilt downward, and your ears pop with a sharp pressure that makes you sound like a frog when you try to swallow. You look out the window and see the ground rushing back up to meet you at 300 miles per hour. The landing gear deploys with a loud mechanical clunk, and you are convinced a vital part of the wing just fell off. Thump! The tires slam onto the runway, screeching softly as the brakes kick in with enough force to throw your body forward. The plane slows down, turning smoothly onto the taxiway, and an overwhelming surge of relief washes over your entire body. You survived your first flight, conquered the skies, and proved that gravity has nothing on your stubborn will to live. Let's recap the mandatory 6 stages of surviving your first airplane flight like an absolute professional. Stage 1. The TSA security sprint, where you strip like a criminal over a single stick of gum. Stage 2. The boarding gate panic, checking your ticket 50 times to ensure you aren't flying to the wrong continent. Stage 3. The death grip, takeoff, where you attempt to squeeze the armrests into literal diamonds. Stage 4. The accidental tomato juice, ordering drinks you would never consume on solid ground. Stage 5. The terrifying toilet flush, where you fear for your life over a high-powered vacuum. Stage 6. The instant relief, clapping silently to yourself because the wheels actually touched the earth. If you survived your very first flight without breaking a sweat, you are officially a lying champion. Which stage of airport panic hits you the hardest when you travel? Drop your stage number down in the comments right now so we can all feel better about our collective fear of heights.